Welcome, welcome. I know that relationships are one of those things, or even marriage, one of those things that never comes with a formula, and something that causes a lot of happiness for people, but the same thing causes a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So you realize that it's the same thing. It's from it originates the happiness, because everyone wants to be attached. We were created for connection. We were created to be loved and to love as well. But again, as in so many tears, so many fights, and so many questions that don't have any answers are happening in people's minds. And that is why we are here, to be able to shed more light, to be able to share in some of the experiences that we have experienced, even in the counseling sessions, in the therapy sessions.
Absolutely.
For all the years that we have done couple therapy, and for all the years that we have been in marriage ministry. One thing I believe is there is no situation that is too big for God, and there is no situation that has no treatment or remedy.
That's true, absolutely.
Yes,
we thank God. We bless God that we have to discuss or have these discussions about relationships. I usually say there is no expert, but the daily experiences, what we encounter, and what we have to solve makes us better.
Yeah.
And
the willingness to do that.
Yes. So it's a good journey. It's a beautiful one that I appreciate when people keep sending the feedback that we receive. Mostly, I don't believe in just the positive. I like it when someone takes me on something that they don't understand, or where they need more clarity, because some of the statements that we make may not make a lot of meaning, because I'm telling you something that is 20 years old and I'm giving it to you in a statement, so it may not make a lot of sense unless you have another 15-20 minutes, or unless I take a 15 or 20 minutes just to explain it.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I appreciate when you guys give us the feedback. I like my TikTokers mostly. I like the feedback. I appreciate every feedback, all feedback,
and I love the
positive
fact
and
that
negative.
they
really
are both
do.
engaged, the men and the women. It's not just the women, because long or some time back, it's the women that used to be more interested.
Yes, but these days
in
men are
relationship
really,
talk. But men have come up, and I think this is because we try to have unbiased kind of discussions when it comes to relationships, and just to open people's eyes. And today is no different. We want to be able to speak to the fact that so many of us are going through exhaustion and a lot of burnout. And then we have these statements of twakowa and abakowu. They are not in relationships, but again, walu abakowu, there is a type of abakowu abali in relationships, who are in relationships, who are in marriages. And then the worst of all is some of us, we don't know what our problem is. We just feel like there is a detachment. We feel like there is a huge distance in between the partners, but you just don't know what to name it. You don't know what brought it, and you actually don't know how to remedy it or how to actually help yourself, because then you feel like maybe the other person is totally disengaged. I am totally disengaged. It has been time, maybe a year or 2 years or 3 years. It has been quite chronic. It has been kind of a baseline stress that both of you have been going through. But sometimes people leave things to chances. They feel like, you know what, the vibe will come back. We will get back together. It's the assumption.
The assumption that it will.
But they keep going further and
further. One day becomes a week, becomes months, and before you realize the gap is huge.
It's very huge. It's like two islands drifting apart.
Yeah, probably need help. So absolutely. So I think we want to look at some of the exhaustions, the types of exhaustions, I think.
Yes. What is exactly happening? Because some of these things are happening already in your life. And
but by the way,
to call them
this
out.
does not just happen in relationships, even at work.
Marriages, yes.
Even at work. You get tired.
Yeah.
You get tired, and you don't have anything to look up to anymore. So routine becomes hard, because with work it's routine that you have to report to your work desk. at 8 a.m. and you just feel exhausted because you've been doing the same for a long time. And so lack of creativity or no creativity at all, no growth. So you feel like maybe I've outgrown the place, or maybe I've maxed out. And so that's exhaustion also.
In the workspace. And that is where it most people have known it for most of their days.
But in
burnout comes in form of work.
But in relationships, it's really bad.
It's deep.
Yes, because just like Hilda started by saying, we have these talks almost every day. And then not only that, but we encounter couples that we talk to, okay? And they will tell you, I have not had sex with my husband for
2 years
or 4 months,
3 months.
I'm just giving an example. and like, do you think that's normal? Like, I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. I don't know whether it's normal or not normal. But we've been there.
Drifting.
And just like you said, started with a day, and somehow a day was justified, and then became 2 days, justified to a week, justified to a month, and now you have nothing to look up to. You're like two logs in a bed. You understand?
I know.
As in,
you're not even brother and sister anymore, because those ones even have KB and bank KB, but here you are two enemies.
Exactly. The perception, the love, the emotions, that force that used to make you long. You know, like when you're still at your workplace and you can't wait to get home, and then she goes to bath, and then she spices herself with this
the
nice scents and
then
everything.
The scents,
you know, and no longer
the candlelight, everything back to normal default setting. A reset. It's like someone did a reset button, and you just flipped backwards.
So the exhaustion and you know, the tiredness, it's what we really want to discuss. It's really detailed, by the way, because I can assure you, everyone goes through it. Everyone will somehow get tired, even with your own children. Your own, you get tired. You get to a point where you feel like you are burning out completely. You know,
what's new? Like,
yes,
there is nothing new.
Exactly. So all this,
that's where it must be very intentional for you to actually read into this, because I bet so many people this is going to be an eye-opener for them to know that, oh, I actually didn't know that this is called burnout. I didn't know, and most of the times this thing can come in, it can be mutually contributed, and that is a silent one. It's a killer, because then you drift without knowing. Like, both of you just get tired, you get detached, and it just feels normal. You feel like maybe we have just gotten used to ourselves. Maybe it's because we've been in this marriage for a long time, or in this relationship for a long time. So now that is a silent killer, because by the time you catch yourselves, you have gone far apart. There is one, however, where one partner has felt the drifting, okay? And they want to catch.
And the other is running away.
And the other is running away. The other one actually wants the drifting to happen faster, because they have either better things, or they are all buried in their world. There are other things that seem more interesting than the relationship, and more important than the relationship. That can be work, that can be an emotional relationship somewhere that they're invested in, that they actually don't know that it's detrimental to whatever is happening in this relationship. So one person is fighting to catch this
another is running away,
while the other person is running out. Now, most of the times, the one that is chasing to catch also feels like, I have initiated communication for a very long time, but I don't think I'm getting what I want. So they slow down on the communication. And like, this effort has been one-sided for a long time, and I'm the one initiating sex for a long time, and then all of a sudden they're like, but na ye chochi mfachi. And all of a sudden, they stop doing it. So now you see, they've been initiating dates. It becomes a song. Oh, date night. The other person has excuses. The other person turns down, on the day of the date night itself. And they're like, you know what, it can't happen because I'm exhausted. So all of a sudden, this person is like that, you know what, I have really tried enough.
And you know the most interesting part? At the point when the one chasing is getting tired, is when the other one realizes that I think he's been chasing, so let me avail time.
And the other one is...
So now what happens is, the one who was running begins chasing.
And this one...
And then, you know, there was a couple we met with Hilda. So this girl had been running, taking a certain direction, while the guy is trying to plead and chase and beg. And then she gets disappointed wherever she was running, wherever she was going, whatever that was drawing her attention tends to die out, completely dwindle. And then she realizes, I was throwing away gold for nothing. Let me go back to my gold. By the time she goes back to pick up her gold, the gold is gone. So she begins to chase, and she's now chasing. So it happens that way.
Yes,
that
it does.
Your partner will chase for a while. At the point when they give up, probably what you were running away from and what you were attending
to look interesting.
Exactly. So by the time you turn back, this one is no longer interested because they have invested time, effort and everything.
They have cried, they have prayed.
Yes, and now they feel like can't you vehicle. So in maybe let's look at some of the causes. I think one of them is that. The other is mostly fresh couples. You got this girl tazalangako, she's fresh, and then she's pregnant. You know, and a lot changes when pregnancy kicks in. Physically, emotionally, everything changes when this girl's life. And you know, it does not happen in 1 month. It happens for 9 straight months. And that's just the beginning.
The beginning. That is the one quarter.
That's just the beginning. So look at it this way, that you were used to this slender girl, all looking beautiful. She makes up in the morning, and by the evening you're out on a dinner.
She's still fresh.
And yes, and all of a sudden now she is pregnant, and everything seems to take a flip, a total flip, that she now is she no longer even understands herself. You understand, because of the turmoil, the emotional turmoil and everything. Of course, a human being is growing in her body, and then after 9 months she has a baby to take care of. Okay, and while she's taking care of the baby about a year old, she's pregnant.
The cycle begins.
And you know, so you realize in that kind of situation, whether you like it or not, this guy probably, if not properly prepped,
and if he's not involved,
will find fillers. Will find fillers, because his the best friend, my partner, my love, my clothes, my everything, seems to be gone because of something I don't know. In most cases,
let's redefine best friend.
No.
Who caused this scenario again? Did the girl get herself pregnant? Yes, she was your best friend. So even in this case, she's still your best friend.
And Kakati, what happens, that's why I use the word, if not properly prepped.
Yes.
For the guy to understand that this is just for a season.
To be involved.
She is just going through a phase, and she wants you to be part of her while she goes through this. If it's not a request, it's a responsibility. If it's not properly prepped for that, that's why I use the word young couples. By the way, Hilda, even if you got mature people,
even older, yes, it's the same.
It causes a drift.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at this young couple. I use the word young couple for a reason. You look at this young couple. They've had a life before of almost a date every night. If they're the kinds who club, they're clubbing every night. You understand? They've had that kind of life, and all of a sudden there's a flip. And then the guy still has the energy
to do whatever
would still want to do everything that they used to do, but can no longer do it with you, because now everything about you has
changed.
So the drift begins. And when the drift begins, it never stops. So some of you ask yourselves questions like, I don't know what happened between us. It is as simple as that.
Lifestyle changed.
Yeah.
But it changed for one person, and it didn't change for
another person. So what happens is, for some men who have been helped who have been prepped, they will understand my woman is going through a phase, so I should be part of her. I should be with her. I should walk this journey with her. And when you walk that journey with her, you will still have even double what you thought you were missing. It will be extreme
Sweeter.
fun, even sweeter. But the thing is, if not properly prepped, because when you go, there are chances that when you come to make advances, there are chances that she will even
turn you down.
Exactly. And rudely, not just turn you, but rude. Because she, at the back of her mind, you're the cause, you're the reason as to why I'm like this. So they can't away. And then you've never seen that side of her. You feel like
this is the first of its kind. So that drifting now, that kind of drifting,
we're looking at some of those causes.
It causes the burnout, and most of the people, just like I said, it takes intentionality for you to stop in your in your tracks and say, okay, this is a responsibility for both of us. It's better I change my way and go back to that and make it more interesting, or else I'm actually losing on something. So you realize that intentionality is what most people don't have. That is why the drifting actually happens for a very long time. And then some people...
The best example I can give is about us. Because my wife and I mean, we live in the same space Monday to Monday. So when we got our first child, when Ariella was on the way, of course the same things I'm talking about happened. But then there was no Tim's world without Hilda. And then the bit about the intentionality, where you make it intentional to be part of the journey. The hardest part for us men at that point is we only carry the babies in our head, because you are trying to think, what is it? You remember
what does it feel like?
Exactly. You remember some of those moments where you would get the muscle pulls.
Yeah.
And you're saying quarter one, and I'm
quarter one.
So it's actually more frustrating for the man, because you want to help, but you don't even know how to help. You want to be available, but you don't even know how best to do it.
You don't understand what is happening.
Okay. And then the other party, your partner, your friend, okay, is going through pain, but you can't even understand the kind
magnitude
of pain and the magnitude, but why I said it's a beautiful journey, mostly with intentionality, is along the way, you tend to learn. You
speak the same language.
You actually learn, okay, that you can predict certain things. You can know how the first trimester will roll out, and how the second will, and even the third. So somehow, with time, you settle in so well that you just only need one signal to write a book, or you just need one signal
to read ahead
and just know what you're supposed to be doing.
And swing
but
into
as
help.
I said, there's need for a bit of preparation. So young couples, don't run away from help. And then I like this thing where young couples belong or sign up for marriage clubs.
Yes.
Where you will hear experiences of other people.
It prepares you.
Yes. It really helps when you hear some of these stories, because it's these stories that you're going to, there's nothing new. It's the same. Women will always, they will have nausea when they're pregnant. They will have these things. They will always have. One may not, another will. So learning from another and knowing how to handle.
Will change.
Exactly. So yes, she will get to a point where she's actually...
Some of them you have to dress them up.
when she's disinterested in you as a man. And that's not the right time for you to think of going to a club and spending time in a bar, or spending most of your time with your other friends.
To take time.
It's not that she's pushing you away. Something has happened. There's
Check
a phase.
the supportive role.
And what she needs is you more than anything. Even when she says "Mva kumvira genda," she means, please come closer. I need you more. Everything in her life is changing.
And there are others whose libido will go high and you'll be trying to run away.
You should be part of that change. It's a beautiful change.
It's a beautiful change, but you have to be very intentional. I think intentionality is what we have really based on. Sign up for the marriage clubs. Go for a premarital counseling, guys. premarital counseling that will highlight what you are the journey at least, and it will help you. And then when aside from the pregnancy and what, because that is a whole topic of its own when it comes to exhaustion and how people have reacted to it differently until the babies are there, until some babies have gone until universities and people have failed to drift back. Now they become housemates, and it becomes so dangerous, and it becomes so irritating for most of them. That is why so many times
Hilda, let's just call a spade a
separate.
spade. You can't tell me you've been drifting for the last 5 years and you're not trying to find a solution
solace somewhere.
You understand? So in most cases the woman will find solace somewhere and the man will, and that's where the marriage now begins to properly break off, fall apart. So these things that we are talking about are real, and I hate the assumptions, because it is these assumptions that cause all of this. You assume you will handle, you procrastinate on something that is as important as your family, and before you realize it's gone completely. And at the time when you wake up and you want it back, it's no longer.
It's gone.
And then guess what? It's these kids that will never ever. I think you were telling me a story about a kid who looked into the father's eye and said, "We hate you." And he's saying, "I hate you, Dad, because the things that you say and the things that you do are two strangers, completely apart." And kids do not have the nerve to understand what you say. They only pick what you do. So what you do speaks volumes to them. It's what actually shapes them. That's why you can preach a very good sermon. You can be the best preacher but have the most wildest children at home. You can be the best pastor but fail because the kid is only trying to connect the preacher, okay, and the father, the dad, and it's completely different. So things here are as real as they sound. That you hit the brakes and help yourself, because it's never too late. It is never too late. Whatever that you can do now to help you, don't procrastinate. Don't assume that you will do it tomorrow. Start now. If you must go back home at 4, go back at 4 p.m. from work. Tosoka agenda kulya kigere sauna because that's what you've been doing for the last 5 years.
The women, they will have girls
and then the signal that you're sending is, I am absent. Don't even try to look for me. So you get back home when everyone is in bed. You've not had dinner with your family,
and you leave very early in the morning. You don't want questions.
You've not had dinner with your family. You've not had breakfast with your family for years. That's the other one that I want to talk about, the food, because there is a problem with the women and there's a problem with the men. And those are some of the
things that cause exhaustion,
that cause
and
exhaustion.
The burnout,
The woman has been making food, okay, and throwing it until she got to a point where she felt like, why do I have to make food for an absent husband? Because you get back home when everyone is in bed, or koma okuse, and you just get into bed and sleep. So she got tired.
And she stopped. And it became normal. And now that became a point of drifting apart. I want us to also highlight the issue. We talked about it some time back, but that what would I call that? Differing, not temperaments, but not even lifestyle, but I think the perspective on life. There's a time we talked about the alpha females being a cover-up for bad manners. Now, there are people that are in relationships or in marriages where one, for lack of a better word, like atuntu zomulala, so the other person gets tired of being picked on all the time, of being ordered all the time, so you feel like you are not valued at all, and so you resign to drifting apart. to drifting away. There is nothing that more interesting. There is nothing. Actually, you're in regret. Sometimes you're in tears. Sometimes you don't know what is happening. But you just feel like, you feel inferior. You feel like you are the rug. You feel like you're unappreciated. You feel like there is no support at all. You feel like there is lack of equality in this relationship. And so you resign to maintaining that part and letting the other person you're like, what? Dominate. Let me just resign to,
and
my business.
When it's about money, mostly, if the woman earns more or she has a deeper wallet, it's even worse. Because think about it, where you have a woman who is turned into a commanding officer in the house simply because she knows probably she's contributing 70% of the bills in the house of the household. She has that upper hand, and maybe things were not like that before, but probably down the road the man lost a job and he's been on the road trying to look, and and things have not yet picked up and stabilized. And with us men, if you're the kind who provides for your family, always used to providing to your family, there's nothing that eats you up like a cancer when you can't. And then to make it worse, when you have this kind of woman who thinks is doing you a favor, who feels like you are a burden,
giving you commands.
Like you get back home. I remember we were making jokes about these things recently, and you're saying you get back home and she puts her legs up and she says, I'm tired. You'd want to do it out of love, but when there is
is that even love?
You'd want to do that when you has initiated it. But I'm talking about when she feels like you've been home the whole day.
She's giving you that attitude.
Yes. The tone is as simple as this. I'm the one who's been hustling. Can't you at least do a small thing like massage my feet? Okay? And then, but what happened? How can we have dirty plates in the sink? You've been here the whole day. It seems like a small thing, but to me as a man, it is different. I think you can find better ways of making that communication than looking at me as
the maid in a home.
Yeah.
And I
put a full tank in the car. How come there is a quarter tank right now? What have you been doing with the fuel? You understand? And that's coming from a woman or what you call your wife, one that you supported 100% at a certain point. You were there 150% for her, doing everything 150% without complaining. But at a time when you feel,
for her she feels like,
when you feel like, I need you. Nina, I'm going through this situation and I don't know when. You understand? For us men, we have those moments when things just take a flip. You understand? And you fall from grace. And now, at a point when I've fallen from grace, my best friend, my personal person, I would expect you to give me a hand. For you to be able to be at least number one, to understand that this is just for a time. But now, because it's taken 6 months, you've started looking at me as though I am a burden.
Even discussing with other people.
Yeah,
I've had women. You go and
those are some of the things that cause a drift. Because once this guy goes, it's gonna be very, very hard to get him back. You will never have that same man ever again. He will never look at you the same ever again.
Wow. So and it happens both sides. It happens with the men and it happens with the women.
Give us a version of the women.
Especially if the woman really feels like, with the woman, sometimes it will not come from the domineering or it will not come from someone coughing some of those insults and stuff, even when some of them do it. But there are subtle things that will show a woman that I am unappreciated, that I don't have an equal position in this place. For example, a man just buys things without informing her. you buy land, and sometimes you even have other people that you actually buy land with, or you do other things. So she feels like, okay, this is what we should have been doing together, but he's doing it alone. Maybe he is planning his life alone, because now that is the conclusion that comes to a woman's mind. And most of the times then you resign and you're like, you know what, I have been really, really trying. Oh, but you mentioned there is this land, and you're like, Tebi Kwatako, how is it concerning you? Oh, but you say this and this. In the first place, you involved her, and then all of a sudden you're not involving her. In the first place, you used to respect her. Now, when they invite a man, I've seen this with a lot of couples, they invite you for the wedding, even if they put Mr. and Mrs., you don't show the card, but you prepare yourself to go for the function alone, and she's not. So after some time, she realizes, I don't think I am as needed as I thought I am actually needed. So she just backs off, and she gets tired. So the other one drifts, going in front. So she's like, you know what, let me give all my love to the children. But even the children are not going to be satisfying, because you must be nurturing this relationship in order to nurture the children.
Exactly.
Now you are not nurturing the children, but you are strangling them and choking them, because now your attention is on the children. That is how you find more women starting to discuss their husbands with their children. I don't know where he has gone, but do you think he's even going to give you that? Be careful when you're asking him for that. So now the man becomes a monster. Why? Because the woman has more time with the children, and the drifting has happened for so many years. And so many men are being ill-advised sometimes. Oh, you don't tell her everything. Oh, you don't do this. And that actually has caused a lot of, when it comes to the males, there are so many other things. Men even being, just imagine the love languages where the man is more of acts of service, and the woman needs quality time. I think we have really had a fair share of couples coming in like that. So the man is busy working and is thinking, I'm working for my family. What am I doing? I'm providing for you. You are driving a good car. But the woman is thinking, that's not what I want. What I want is you.
Yeah, emotional availability.
And the woman and the man is like, do you want me do you want us to stay poor so that you can have me? And I was like, find a way of balancing it. I don't care, but what I want is quality time. If you don't touch me, I don't feel like you love me. If you don't compliment, if you don't say something that you love me, and then the man is like, but for me, I don't know how to say those things. So before you know it, these people are drifting apart because they have not been very intentional to understand that the other one is acts of service. So can I understand that whatever work he's doing, extra work that he's taking, for him, in his mind, is equal to I am taking care of my family. But can that man also understand that I can speak even a 5% or 10% of my wife's love language and not
Hilda,
just drift apart?
I want us to go a little bit back on the side of a man choosing to have a life without
the wife.
And most especially, I think you mentioned the land titles and in form of
investing and
development.
And
what would cause that? What do you think would get a man to a place of avoiding such discussions with the wife, or involving the wife in such discussions?
I think there are quite a series of things. Number one, there is upbringing, and you coming from a place where
you were told that you know a man
alone.
Is a man.
A man is a man. You do not disclose your things. But again, there are those that started well, doing together
along the way,
but they actually read ill intentions from the other side.
Okay. From the wife,
from the wife, and these ill intentions, some of them can come in a way of maybe there's been mistrust, lack of trust between the two partners. Some of them could be they don't read the longevity of this relationship. because then the other person
there are
seems
trust
like they're not.
issues.
So there are trust issues. So to say, and the trust issues can be so many that there is either an extramarital affair or there is just it seems like there is lack of longevity for this relationship. Chimu bibiri nja kugenda, chimu bibiri nja kulekera ebintu byo, chimu bibiri, and so the man is thinking, now I put her name on this, and then all of a sudden, and then not to bigabana, and then you're thinking, so you are thinking more about sharing. You are actually not thinking about us building an empire together and being resilient in this journey. So when someone reads that, then they're like, you know what, let me just crawl back into my shell, invest alone, because I can never know what will happen. So in other words, they're protecting themselves. So there are so many, and then belittling also. Lack of respect. Total lack of respect. You look at a woman as producing machine. You're like,
I don't value them.
Even if they tell you the same thing another person told you, you will take another person's word
more than your wife's.
Like for them, they are a mop, a rag, but you want them there as a housemaid to take care of your children, but you totally not valuing them, nothing. Exactly. And they feel it.
Exactly. That was a couple. I had this discussion almost the same. That's why I asked you to, throw some more light on it. He said, I tried to involve my wife, but then I discovered that she would even forge my signature.
Wait.
Yes.
Wow.
Forge my signature, okay, to get money from the bank. Forge my signature because they used to sign together, but she could forge the guy's signature to get money out of the bank account. The same thing when she wants to get a loan. She would go get a loan without the husband's knowledge.
But she has the husband's signature.
She would still forge the signature. And then all of a sudden when she fails to pay the loan, the man pays it. So it got to a point where he was like, I don't think this is the kind of woman that I can do this.
I envision,
you understand? I can't trust her, and I can't invest with her. I'm better off giving her hers. If she blows it, it's up to her. But then I plan for my family, I plan for my children as a man, because I don't want to wake up one day and I have nothing and everything is yes, because he was in such scenarios twice or three.
That was too
exactly.
Much.
So I wanted to pick that up because at times some men have found themselves. Then the other was like, I've never had a discussion with my wife, okay, on anything developmental that she's able to understand.
Wow. I've had that so many times.
So he said,
men.
Even when I want to involve her, as far as the east is from the west,
she's
so is our understanding and interpretation and everything. That while you're mentioning one thing, she is speaking on something so small and magnifying it
to quarrel about.
And the whole thing just dies. So he said, even when I wanted to do things with her, there was no way I could because of
her understanding
just her
was
understanding.
Totally different.
You
and there are so many women who are like that.
Exactly.
So many women who are like that. And some of them you would be shocked. They're like, they are beautiful women. Yeah. But you look at her reasoning, not even a P5 chap can reason like that. And you're like, I think some of those men are just like, you know what, let me just throw in
now,
a towel.
In some of these scenarios, much as there will be a drift, some of them are really hard.
They have been
and that's why we said you're better off learning from another.
Yes.
Because you're not the first one to go through this. Someone else has maneuvered, has handled the same situation and somehow has succeeded. How they succeeded, you understand, depends on what they did. So listening to such conversations help you. Because then, whether you like it or not, there will be a drifting. Because compromise, to avoid the drift, means you will never do anything to help you take the family to another level.
That's true.
In such a case where you have this woman you can't trust, that even if you do a business, no more take out, everything
goes.
Within a month, it's all gone.
You move 5 steps, they bring you 6 back. No, it's not. And then there's another issue that we talked about some time back. I think some of these things we just have conversations between us. But I have seen a scenario where and this has been an aspect of, I think, mostly women, what I have been really concerned about, who have given more time to their bosses and their work and they have pursued promotions, but neglecting their homes and neglecting their partners. And the drift has been there. Every party that is at work, they have to be at it. Everything, they are everywhere doing everything and listening, and the conversations they will always bring back, even in their homes, they're talking about their bosses. Oh, my boss this, my boss that, my boss this, my boss that. And the man is thinking, but do I have a wife? Or this woman is actually married to her boss, something like that. I have seen it both ways, even with the men, but most times the men will be like, I am looking for the money. I'm benchmarking. The moment you hang out with these people, that is how you make the money. So sometimes the women at home understand, even when the time has been robbed away from them, they will try to understand somehow, somewhere, especially those that are still traditional. But when it comes the other side, when it is swapped and it is the woman that is wearing the pants and high heels and all the time, up there looking for things and running away from home, I feel it has caused a lot of drifting and exhaustion, where the man throws in a towel and you'll find a man just minding his business.
Yeah.
He will not even ask, where are you going?
Yeah.
A woman will have
actually you as a man, you save yourself the trouble of not asking.
That's
You're
true.
better off staying in the world of unknown, not knowing what's going
see
on.
her
Because the
parking?
moment you try to poke or try to seek for information, you'll be heartbroken.
Yeah.
Trust me, most of these women end up in relationships with their bosses.
Of course.
They end up in extra,
Marital
and when you see such signs, and if you're a woman and you're listening, you know that this happens. This really happens. At least be respectful to your man, not to bring those conversations at home. At least.
You know what I've said about those women?
Because the issue here is the way we are wired as men. There is no room for sharing a woman in our heads. There is that room is not there. So when you make another person
more important,
okay, and you have to rub it in, and you have to make me believe it, accept it, and take it in, you're only telling me settle for second place. And I'm not just gonna settle for second place. So if you must be disrespectful, respect the fact that I am your husband. Don't bring these conversations at home. You have your dirty and your funny ways at your workplace, but just try to be a woman at home. Try to be my wife at home. Don't disrespect me. And I'm saying, because some of them are watching and are listening, that if you must do it, please don't bring it at home. And the same thing, by the way, to the men. If you have that secretary who makes for you tea, your PA, don't slap that PA in that woman's face, your wife's face.
She knows how to. She's the one who knows my sugar.
All the time.
She's the one.
You're smiling and texting with her. Okay? She's the one who understands you.
What kind of clothes you put on.
You no longer eat home because
she understands
your menu better. And
even the haircut.
So don't bring your PA in someone's
But
home.
again, even if
respect
you
this woman enough.
Even if they don't
if you
bring
must
them.
be funny, okay, don't rub it in. Don't do that to that woman. She deserves better. That's why she chose you, and that's why you chose her. So if you must be funny, stay funny out there, but don't be funny even in your house.
The funny thing, the drifting happens even when you don't say anything.
And what I'm saying, Hilda, that might not stop the drifting.
Yeah.
But a bit of respect. There are certain things, for sure, that we must conclude on this show and understand. There are certain things that will not stop the drifting, no matter what. And some of them we've highlighted. You can do your best to try and address issues on a case-by-case basis. You understand? For example, the one I've used, if you're having a woman who is irresponsible when it comes to money, what do you do? What do you do as a man? You have a duty and a call to your family. There are more important things that you know, you understand, that must be attended to in your home, in your family, including your wife. But then you have this irresponsible woman who does not have priorities at all.
They're inverted.
Hey, so what do? There will be a bit of a drifting, but it's for the better good. That at least you're saving something more prime, more important, which is your children's future, your future, you understand, your family.
And that's important.
Very important.
Yeah, so that means we must be able to calculate the price that we have to pay.
Yes.
And in such scenarios,
Yes.
where especially we can't change the other person.
Yes. Yes.
Because then if the other person could change, I think the willingness will be there for things to shift. But if you can't change the other person, by the time someone learns to sign like you, clearly, they're past a certain level. They're past. That means they've been doing it for a very long time. That is not a habit you just.
You bought her a car. It's with lending money lenders.
Yeah, because
and then after you've rescued the car,
the house is gone.
In a couple of months, it's gone, and this time it's beyond rescue. And then all of a sudden you realize, just wake up and the house you're sleeping in has a debt of 50 million. From a money lender, and you're like, how did this happen? So men have found themselves in such scenarios, and they have found themselves in such
and
places, and decisions must be made. Because at that point, the drifting is not the issue. It's your family.
The future of the family.
Save the family. You have a lot to lose if you don't fight for your family, because tomorrow you'll be blamed for not taking leadership. That's why there are penalties on the road. That's why the security traffic officer will give you a penalty when you do a wrong turning. He's trying to send a message. He's trying to tell you that you not do it again, you have to pay for it. So sometimes that's what we have to go through. That there are places where you have to make rough, tough decisions, but then it saves the day. It really does. So there are so many causes to this drift.
For the burnouts.
These burnouts happen, but whatever that you know, and you know very well that you can be in charge and you can rescue and you can pay
even the routine
to.
that you talked about, I don't think we really highlighted it enough. But if there's no creativity and change of things, you'll find that you no longer have the enthusiasm, to do that particular thing. Okay, so as in everything is the same, yesterday, today, and forever. I think there is a bit of boredom that kicks in, and when that boredom kicks in, before you know it, there is a burnout. People are drifting and they don't know why they are drifting. So I think that spicing up in marriage, that's why we say sign up for some of these clubs, some of these communities. When you hear some of these things, when you are prompted to do some of these things, do you know that there are people that need a prompt to even go on a date, that need a prompt, and you tell a woman that, you're not going to be a tomboy forever. Can you dress like a lady? Can you actually go for an actual date where you dress to really, to look nice? So some of those things, the way you smell, the way you even bathe, that it seems like a small thing,
it's
that
huge.
It has caused people to drift.
Huge.
Hygiene,
it's huge. Hygiene is huge.
Whenever someone comes to you, you're stinking.
And
the bathing, you bathe, but you don't get clean. And someone has seen it repeatedly. So it just feels like, do your things, I also do my things.
Even the home, home itself.
Yes.
There is a home that you want to go back to.
You long to go back to,
because it's clean. It's beautiful. And by the way, this does not mean you have to have a very huge apartment and fancy things. It's just a touch of a woman that everything is in its place. As in, when you got children, it was not a sign up for being dirty. And you have to
sit. A smelly house.
You have to sit in chairs that are smelling
urine.
And you have to second guess yourself before you sit. You're like, I'm not so sure if
this place really clean?
I don't know. So it's not a sign up for nani. So some of these things look small, but again, they're the things that really matter.
Someone stays in the car. It's like, let me first chill here.
Even the cooking.
One who told me.
We mentioned that bit about the cooking. As in, it's the maid who's been making this your food
all the time.
Your husband's food, and for a very long time. The only thing that your husband probably will not tell you is, I'm tired of the maid's cooking, because probably it may sound like an attack,
and maybe he's not going to say.
So the reason as to why sometimes he will come back home and pretend like he's okay It's because he knows the taste of the food.
The same thing.
From he knows these beans, they will taste this way, or this beef will
Fried
taste like
up,
this,
water
and you get the point.
Yeah, they get satisfied before they think about.
So
eating.
you as a wife, or where you will once in a while, and you pay attention to some of these
Tweak,
things.
adjust.
Yes, it kills the routine.
Yeah.
Where you help yourself a little bit, and you pay attention to the man's food. You know, you don't have to cook, but you can be in the kitchen and help out the maid. Nachu samuko, you know, or I don't know, think about something and do something different, because that's what kills routine. Let him come back home and say, "Whew,
Yeah, there's
wow."
a change.
You understand?
Yeah.
Hey, weekends, get a cleaner. There are some men that have said, I go to a hotel somewhere because I can't trust my own home. Can you imagine?
That's so sad.
He wants to go back home, he can't do it because the bathroom is always dirty. Not just dirty, stinking. Why? Because
Even bedroom. Some people have mentioned,
you know,
bedroom, even to the extent that the woman.
So some of these places, you know,
thinking.
that there's a place of a man and there's a place of a woman. But from my
But
training,
also some men should do certain
from my
things.
training, the best manager is a woman.
Yeah, in a
manager to mean a home in order, putting your home in order. A woman does it better than a man. Well, there are places where a man will come in and help, but we can't depend on a man to manage. Usually a woman has the eye for the detail and can be able to attend to some of these things and do them better. So even expectations, the way we build up our expectations, like, let me go and hunt, I bring home, and
To a
you give
gatherer.
me,
You give me food.
Exactly.
Fresh food.
So when I'm playing my part as a hunter, at least do
Play
the
your
part
part
of
as a manager.
as a home manager. So some of these things, much as they look small, they are huge.
They cause the
you don't
drift.
have to have 3 bathrooms in a home
To be clean.
You need
One.
one bathroom properly maintained.
Let's talk about the side of the men.
Please.
And because there are certain things that you need to adjust as men, and I think you've talked about it so many times, especially when you're addressing your men in the mentorship. You know, how you even cut your hair, how you dress up, whether you use a cologne or not a cologne. There are some men, there are some women who will say, I got used to, like, that person became a routine. That is how they dress. Dabi pale, they're like that one for president, like extra linen. So the woman looks at the person, that person just never looks appetizing, never looks any different. So she resigns to the fact that, you know what, and nothing changes. So I think there's so many things that need to be able to be handled when it comes to the changes. That cause the drifting.
Absolutely.
But catch yourself in the track, be intentional, and make the tough decisions.
Make the tough decisions. But then I agree with you on that, and I appreciate that, most especially coming from the men, as in nailing it, most especially in our looks.
It's important.
I think I've been a student of looking good.
Men go to gym.
And anyone who comes in my close proximity or circles, I tell them that unless you help yourself, you'll die a young man. So the time you invest in yourself is actually time that you would reap in your old age. And gym is one way of saying, I don't want a doctor so soon. So when you pay attention to your health, the way you feed, and go to gym, work out a little bit, do some exercises, you're just pushing the doctor's appointment a little bit further. You don't trust me, you will look
even us, we need to do that.
Yeah, you look 65 when
not even just for medical reasons, but even for just general fitness.
Yeah, you look 65 at 45,
good.
and that is really bad. It means you've given away 20 years. 20 years. So you can't live in the future now. You wait until you're 65 so that you look 45. You shouldn't look 65 at 45. What are you looking for? Sincerely. So I encourage men, encourage
care of
men to take care of
themselves.
themselves. I
Yeah.
really do. That is a special call to my men. Look good. Look good. Go work out, push
And it doesn't
yourself.
have to be
It's a bit
expensive.
of discomfort, but it pays. Surely it pays. Really pays.
And there are so many reasons. Today you realize we've only talked about the causes of what the reasons
causes,
are
yeah.
of the exhaustion and the burnout, but even the differing values. People have differing values, as far as east is from the west. At first you had chemistry, and I think there is a way Katonda bwatutegamu. He gives you the chemistry, and you feel like all of a sudden you're compatible.
Yeah.
And then
All
after
of a
the chemistry, the butterflies have gone. That is when you discover that, hey, kumbe, we have differing values. And so you find people going to different things. Even when it comes to, have you seen couples going to, I'm not saying that it is bad, but it's as if people are running away from each other. You go to different churches, you go to, even when it comes to a function, even when you go to the same church, you sit in different, places. And I'm not saying that's the worst of the things, but still it shows that there are people who are like, you first go, then I will come later. And then you see them coming later. I'm like, but what is your problem exactly? So there's so many things that cause the burnout, and people have gotten used to the burnout.
Yeah.
But however, I think we're going to get a time where we will talk about the telltale signs, okay, break them further, and also what you can do.
Yes, to address
Some of these things,
signs,
so that you can bring, let me tell you, marriage is sweet when there is a bond. When there is a bond, and when the glue to that bond is God, that is between you. When
Praying
both
together.
of you fear God, when both of you pray together, when there is humor. Do you know that one of the signs that shows that there is no longer
there's a disconnect.
Burnout, that is the humor evaporates.
It does.
Like you can never laugh
Everything
at each other.
you're serious.
You're too gloomy.
You tend to be serious about everything.
I know, and
your communications.
It's too stiff.
Yeah.
They are robotic. You're only communicating about pampers and milk and food, but you cannot tell the other person that you even love them and you
just
miss
feel
them.
like it's just a job.
It's just overwhelming. I don't think that is what God designed for us. But John 10:10 says that the thief comes to steal, to destroy, and to kill.
Yeah.
But God has come. Jesus has come that He will give us life and life in its abundance. So if your marriage lacks that abundance, if your relationships lack that
Just
abundance,
be intentional.
Just be intentional about it, pray about it, but find help.
Yeah.
Seek for help. There are marriage counselors, there are marriage coaches, relationship communities. Seek help. But we're going to find some time to talk about what you can do in your home in order to bridge that gap and be able to come back together. From us to you, we love you.